Recently, I asked in a community poll if you good people would be interested in some build guides where we fuse multiple interchanges together, just like the recent interchange episode for Cape Lomond. The result was an overwhelming yes, so here we are. What sparked the idea was a random Reddit comment where somebody linked this beauty from the Spanish city of Seville. Essentially, it's a standard freeway Trumpet interchange fused together via connecting roads to an AB2 Parclo with roundabouts. Actually, having a look about a lot of Spanish cities on Google Maps, there's a ton of cool interchanges and an awful lot of spaghetti. Here's a few examples, and this is just one city. So for our build today, I'm going to use the interchange test map by RonFX. Ron's built 4 banks of traffic spawners to continually send traffic around the map. It's certainly very useful for me making these videos as I don't have to think too much about what's going on in the rest of the city, and I can get some consistent traffic flow in every direction if I want. So cheers to Ron for uploading that map, it's much appreciated. Also very much appreciated my Patreon members, and now my first ever YouTube member, which is pretty cool. Your support means a lot, thank you very much guys, much appreciated as always. I'm going to build this interchange vanilla, so there'll be no mods for the main build. When console players get this game, I want them to be able to refer to these videos as well. And as things stand, the only really useful mod, for me anyway, for building interchanges right now is Anarchy. More for getting overpasses in place a little bit easier and maybe removing some of the pillars. But it's not needed here. I will use mods to decorate the build at the end because frankly it looks a lot better and I enjoy doing it. So let's create a dual highway at a lower level. I've taken it down about 10 meters here, and for purely aesthetic reasons I'd like to have a little bit of a curve on here as well. I'm going to use the lane highway with a gap of 2. The larger gap does help getting the bridges over in a minute. And also, if you're building along, make sure you have left space on the lower level to get connection ramps in along the lower highway as well. That's going to be very important later on in the build. Using the Seville interchange as a rough guide, I'll draw the highway bridge that will form the Trumpet element of the interchange first. I'm not using any set measurements as such here, but once it's in place, I know from practice builds that I'll be looking for roughly a 360 meter gap from one bridge to the other. If you're using the Legacy Flavor mod, which I've still got activated here, it will show up as units, and that'll be 45 units. I'm going to use the 4-lane 2-way highway here. And onto the Trumpet now. I'm going to get a large curve in place. You can see the units here again, as I said, forgot to switch Legacy Flavor measurements off. So it's 2 45-degree angles here to create a semicircle. I've used 9 units or 45 meters here, but you can use whatever looks appropriate for your build. We've got a couple of nice smooth slopes in here, and then it's just a case of joining them nice and smooth into the lower highway. I'm not worrying about lane maths or slip roads at this point, I just want the main layout done, and then we can revisit it and we can get it looking better later on. For the roundabouts, I'm going to use a 3-lane 1-way highway. I did try with a 2-lane, but it didn't work so well, and using the 3-lane roundabout with the 4-lane highway, the 2-way one, works very nice as it does give something of a dedicated turning off lane on the roundabout, which works significantly better. That's maybe common knowledge by now, I don't know, I don't really use roundabouts an awful lot in my cities for whatever reason, so yeah, that's what I'm using. One of the trickier parts of this build can be getting the final ramp bridge section in. I'd recommend drawing in the 2-lane direct turning section from the lower highway to the higher level highway first. Don't bother sloping it up, just keep it level at this point, at that lower level, same as the highway. And we want to terraform up to the curve that you've just created here, and make sure that you've got space to complete it by flattening that section on the lower level too. We want to complete that on the other side. So creating a bridge here, just take it just over the curve and then stop. So we want to start at 0 meters elevation and then increase the height until it clears the road. Connecting the left lane now with a single lane highway, we want to reduce that height down to 0 meters. Again, we're taking it down to the lower highway, and then we just simple curve it into that lower highway. I'm going to use the complex curve to draw in the on-ramp to the southern roundabout. I very rarely use that tool, but it can be super useful sometimes. And I use that complex curve again for the right lane on the final bridge section. That went in nice and easy. It's looking a bit janky, as it almost always the way when you put it straight in, you know, without upgrading the highway first. So let's just sort that out for now. Quick delete and redraw. Now going smoothly into the extra lane. Same idea on that 2-lane curve road now. I'll upgrade the main highway where it joins. Delete it back. put a proper slope in, and redraw. Perfect. For the other roundabout, I'm going to use that complex tool again. I'm just looking to get a similar curve as the ramp on the other side of the road. Now that looks okay, but once I had it up and running, it seems that there were issues with traffic jumping about the place, probably with the nodes being too close together, so it will be reworked later on. A slip road for the traffic coming over the bridge, and then joining together to have 2 lanes running into the lower highway will do for now. The final part of the main build is to get the north side ramps connected. Let's get a smooth slope up to the roundabout first, and pulling the road down from the roundabout, I want a nice curve here, then I'll join up a lane from the Trumpet to give access to the roundabout. I've created extra lanes on that new curved road and also on the outside of the Trumpet. As luck would have it, the position of those extra lanes was perfect and they could be connected with a simple curve without any adjustments. Happy days. A little slip road at this roundabout I think could be a good addition to free up a bit of capacity, and I also only want 1 lane running off this roundabout, so I'm going to knock it down to 1 lane running into the lower highway to create a merging lane of sorts. So that's all the main functionality of the build pretty much done. So I'm going to hook it up now and we'll see how it runs. Now I don't want as much traffic on the service interchange, so let's disconnect some of those spawners. Then I'm going to smooth out the whole system. I can come back and get all the terraforming looking good later. I'm going to create a number of slip roads to help traffic on the merging sections. There will be a little bit of lane math supplied in terms of dropping a lane between some of the on and the off ramps. And for the final terraforming, I'm going to flatten the land along the highway and then just slope up to the higher road. Just a case of rinse and repeat here, and we'll finish off with a gentle smoothing set at approximately 30%. If you like this type of video, an easy and free way to support the channel is to drop a like or a comment or both. Really does help and it's always very much appreciated. Alright, that's looking a bit more like it now, isn't it? Now the keen viewer might have noticed that there seems to be a missing ramp here to connect the right turning traffic from the Trumpet onto the lower level highway. The interchange is in fact complete, i.e. you can travel in every direction. Although the ramp isn't there, traffic can travel around the big Trumpet curve, under the bridge, through both of the roundabouts, and then continue eastbound on the lower highway. Now I would love to say that that was all by ingenious design, but the truth is, I just bloody forgot to do it. So don't worry, I'll come back to it at the end and we'll get that sorted. Very easy to add, it's just a simple direct turn with a simple curve. Dead easy. So as you can see at this point, you don't need any mods to build this interchange. It can be done entirely without it. For the detailing, however, I am going to use mods and I am going to use the dev UI, and I'll give you a quick rundown on what I'll be using. So for the surfaces, I'm going to add the tile surface, I think it was, and the dirt surface via the dev mode. I'm going to use the road tool mods and we're going to add some key walls. And the key walls really are there specifically just to get the barriers pretty much almost everywhere on the build. It does look quite a bit better using them, so definitely recommend it. We have Find It now, which is fantastic. I'm going to add a few cone barriers around the place for a bit of colour. And I'm also going to use it for some of the safety barriers running along the lower highway too. And again, it just adds a little splash of colour to the build. Using the key wall on the road made a little janky section on one of the junctions, so I'm going to use another mod, Move It, to fix that. And I'll use the prop line tool with tree controller for most of the vegetation and the bushes as well. With the interchange up and running, I can see there's a few issues to fix. The first is the janky traffic lane switching on the north roundabout exit. I think the game needs an extra node or two here to let the traffic run smoothly onto the exit here, so I'm just going to delete this ramp. I'll create the exit a little further around the roundabout and hopefully it should work a little bit better. And yep, it seems to have worked okay. The other major adjustment was the forgotten direct right turn that I spoke about earlier, the one coming off the Trumpet. Simple stuff, let's just get that in place just now. It will need a little bit of terraforming to get it in smooth. And in fact, looks like I forgot to smooth out the whole area along this highway, so let's get that done too while we're at it. We'll get this little section detailed up so it fits in with the rest of the build. Once that was done, there was a little bit of lane maths to be sorted out with the lane coming off the Trumpet and underneath the bridge. It wasn't recording at that point, so I'll just show you it in the review in a second. In the end, I just had to add another lane. Traffic here continued to try and merge on the roundabout, which was problematic. So even adding just the smallest of slip lanes here seemed to have a pretty big impact on the traffic flow. I'm going to have to spend a bit of time on understanding the roundabout functionality in the game and figuring out what works best. Really something I've neglected so far. The detailing, I think, came out looking pretty good. You know, there's a nice mix of textures and colours on show, and plenty of little repeatable mini designs within the main build. Traffic flow is looking very decent all round, doesn't it? But I think the real beauty of this design is its compact footprint. You're going to be able to shift a decent bit of traffic on and off your arterial or your local roads here, and without taking up too much space as well. An obvious upgrade, if your roundabouts are getting clogged up, would be a simple conversion to an AB4 configuration. You'll need a couple of ramps on and off the lower highway, and you can bypass the roundabouts just like this. This simple addition will add even more capacity to this build. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it useful. Here's a couple more videos for you.